A new coach and a new set of opponents characterise the beginning of a new adventure for Australia, who made their debut in the Asian section of World Cup qualifying in February 2008. A move away from the Oceania Confederation was engineered in order to give the team a chance of picking up an automatic qualification spot. After the departure of Graham Arnold, it was Pim Verbeek who led the Socceroos into the first group phase on the road to South Africa 2010. In Group 1, they would have to get past China, Qatar and reigning AFC champions Iraq. The Qataris were the first visitors to Melbourne, and no sooner had they made the long trip than they were quickly dispatched in a devastating first-half spell. Joshua Kennedy opened the scoring in just the 10th minute. And just 8 minutes more had elapsed when Tim Cahill doubled the lead. Marco Bresciano finished off the opposition just after the half-hour mark. 3 goals in 23 minutes did the business, and the Aussies were off and running. After that perfect start, defeats in Iraq and at home to China failed to halt the progress of the top-seeded side, and they duly made it through to the second group phase, finishing at the summit of Group 1, level on 10 points with Qatar, but just about in pole position thanks to a better goal difference. In the fourth and final qualifying round, Australia were once again drawn into Group 1. The top 2 of 5 teams would make it to South Africa, and Australia set about their task with a hard-fought win in Uzbekistan before hammering Qatar once again. 4-0 the score on this occasion before a tough trip to Bahrain. Now playing much more confidently under their Dutch coach, Australia showed the necessary application to secure the all-important win by just a single goal to nil. Marco Bresciano the match winner in the 93rd minute. After drawing 0-0 in Yokohama versus Japan, the Aussies were still in control of the group and looking a firm bet to make their second consecutive World Cup finals appearance. On the 1st of April 2009, Sydney hosted the clash versus Uzbekistan that gave the Socceroos the chance to push home their qualification chances. Giant frontman Joshua Kennedy broke the deadlock after a goalless first half. And just 7 minutes later, the points were secured when Harry Kewell stepped up to slot home a penalty. That result gave the Australians chance to confirm their place in South Africa when they travelled to Doha to face the Qataris for the 4th time. Heavy Australian pressure in the first half nearly paid off, the post getting in the way of the most acrobatic of efforts from Tim Cahill. After the break, the visitors continued to pour forward, Cahill coming close again, before Harry Kewell also failed to find the net.
Kewell cuts in, Harry Kewell, and again the palms of Kasim Burhan are stung.
The match ended goalless, however the point gained was enough for Australia, who wrapped up qualification with 2 games to spare. With the last 2 matches scheduled to be played at home, the ties against Bahrain and Japan gave the Aussie fans the chance to celebrate whilst watching their heroes wrap up 2 more victories. First up, Bahrain were dispatched 2-0 with goals from Mila Stojovski and David Carney. Japan were then duly beaten, however not before they managed to become the first side to score against Australia in the whole of the 4th qualification round. 2 strikes from Tim Cahill turned the match around for the home side though in the second half at the MCG in front of 70,000 spectators. Final score 2-1, and the final table shows that Australia more than deserved their place at a World Cup for the 3rd time in the nation's history. They finished unbeaten and 5 points in front of their nearest rivals, Japan. The Socceroos will now look forward to being able to build on their knockout phase appearance back in 2006, and this time the quarter-finals will surely be the Aussie A. The South American World Cup qualifying tournament is arguably the most testing that exists. 18 ties versus some of the most talented and competitive teams in the world, played in red-hot atmospheres and occasionally at high altitudes. All that didn't stop Brazil though, the most successful footballing nation on the planet. The 5-time world champions maintained their ever-present record at World Cup finals by steering a comfortable path towards South Africa 2010. The side, managed by former international midfielder Dunga, took time to get going though. 2 wins, 3 draws and a defeat in their opening 6 matches meant that by the time the Brazilians travelled to Chile in September 2008, Brazil were 4th in the table, 4 points behind early pace setters Paraguay. After negotiating a tense opening 20 minutes in Santiago, Luis Fabiano was the man who broke the deadlock. Chile could have been forgiven for thinking that they were still in the game as half-time approached, but a Robinho strike just seconds before the interval changed all that. Brazil 2 up. The Brazilians had Kleber sent off at the beginning of the second half, but held out until Luis Fabiano's second, coming 2 minutes from time, wrapped up a 3-0 win. That impressive win on the road was followed by disappointment at home, as Bolivia picked up a point for the first time ever in Brazil. The 0-0 draw meant that Dunga's men were second in the table as a trip to Venezuela beckoned. The struggles in the previous match were quickly forgotten when Kaká put Brazil into the lead with just 6 minutes on the clock. That advantage was doubled before 10 minutes were up when Robinho found the net. And the match was already over as a contest when Adriano beat Venezuelan keeper Reni Vega before 20 minutes were on the clock. Robinho grabbed a second after the break as it ended 4-0. Draws versus Colombia and Ecuador would come next, followed by a win against Peru. A win in their next match away in Uruguay would send the Brazilians a step closer to the World Cup. Dani Alves was the first of 4 Brazilian players to beat Uruguayan goalkeeper Sebastián Vieira, putting Brazil a goal up in the 12th minute. Defender Joan made it 2. Luis Fabiano was to be the main protagonist of the second half, scoring the visitors' third on 52 minutes, before being sent off shortly afterwards. A Kaká penalty a quarter of an hour from the final whistle ensured another 4-0 away day win. A vital 2-1 win against Paraguay in Recife followed, meaning that a Brazil win in their next fixture would secure qualification. That next match was away versus old rivals Argentina. Luisao put Brazil ahead in the 23rd minute. Luis Fabiano was soon to make it 2-0. In the second half, Jesus Gatolo got one back for Argentina. But 3 minutes later, Brazil's top scorer in qualification, Luis Fabiano, popped up again to secure the points, and with them, his country's qualification for South Africa 2010. With the job done, coach Dunga chose to rest a number of players for the final fixtures. A 2-1 loss in Bolivia followed a home win against Chile. Venezuela were the final visitors to Brazil, the game producing a 0-0 draw. Just 2 losses helped Brazil take first place in qualification, a point ahead of the impressive Chile, with Paraguay and Argentina the 3rd and 4th place qualifiers. Brazil now go in search of a record 6th title. The wealth of talent at the nation's disposal, allied to their ruthless qualification form, makes Dunga's team one of the outstanding candidates to win the 2010 World Cup.